Hey everyone, welcome to today's Explainer. I'm super excited you're here, because today we are digging into something absolutely mind-bending. We're going to visually break down a 2026 paper by Siddhartha Figueroa that honestly offers a massive paradigm shift. If you love looking at the world through a totally new, structure-shattering lens, you're definitely in the right place. We're unpacking what he calls the cosmic pollination vector theory. Now, I want you to just stop and really think about this for a second. What if human culture was literally just a biological instinct of the Earth? Just imagine a scenario where every single grand human achievement, our massive skyscrapers, our complex global economies, even our deepest scientific breakthroughs, what if they aren't actually our own sovereign achievements at all? What if instead the whole shebang is simply a biological, metabolic function of the planet itself? Crazy, right? Well, let's dive into exactly how this works. All right, moving into section 1, the false dichotomy, nature versus culture. Let's get right into it. So here is where our standard worldview really starts taking a hit. Figueroa's theory completely dissolves that traditional boundary we've always drawn between what's natural and what's human culture. Basically, we usually hold this anthropocentric view, right? It's the baseline most of us just accept, that humanity is the master of its own destiny, totally separate from nature. But the cosmic pollination vector theory, or VPC, completely flips the script. It argues that humanity, along with all our technological development, are merely metabolic tools of the Earth's biosphere. So we aren't these sovereign agents standing outside of nature, we are literally just biological instruments working for it. Which brings us to section 2. The pollination vector, as proposed by Siddhartha Figueroa in 2026. Okay, let's look at exactly how he defines this mechanism. According to the text, the cosmic pollination vector theory is a conceptual framework proposing that planetary energy surplus is an evolutionary vector used by nature to break planetary gravity. Just let that sink in for a minute. The crucial takeaway here is that the surplus energy on Earth, whether we're talking about economic wealth, raw natural resources, or just excess calories, isn't just some random byproduct of human civilization. No, it's an active kinetic force. The theory says nature is intentionally using this surplus to literally launch life off the planet and out into the cosmos. To really grasp how this operates, the paper lays out a roadmap with 3 main hypotheses. First up is metabolic continuity, which is the idea that our culture and institutions are really just extensions of the biosphere's central nervous system. Second, we have surplus as an escape vector, meaning all our accumulated wealth is basically just kinetic energy being saved up for a cosmic launch. And finally, useful blindness, a psychological mechanism keeping us completely in the dark about what we're actually doing. Let's break down exactly how these play out in our society. On to section 3, the planetary nervous system and redirecting the surplus. This is the part where the theory completely reinterprets some of the greatest intellectual milestones in human history. Figueroa actually argues that math, writing, and economics operate as a planetary nervous system designed specifically to concentrate fuel and information. So under this lens, these disciplines aren't glorious human achievements created to enlighten us. Instead, they're physiological extensions generated by the biosphere to manage its own energy. They act as tools of calculating reason, meticulously designed to gather, track, and stockpile planetary fuel. Watching how this builds across human history is honestly fascinating. Let's look at the timeline. Back in the ancient era, fiscal writing and geometry were born. But why? Well, according to Figueroa, not for poetry or art, but to codify surplus and delay catastrophic immediate spending, like war. Basically, the biosphere needed us to stop wasting energy destroying each other. Fast forward to the Antiquity era, and that saved surplus gets redirected into massive energy dissipation macrostructures. Think of the pyramids. The theory frames them as practice runs for concentrating energy. And finally, we hit the space age. All that accumulated kinetic energy is now used to fund spacecraft, which are ultimately designed for the ejection of biological spores into the universe. When you lay it out like this, the timeline suggests that the reasoning tools of our civilization evolved for one single purpose: gathering fuel for a cosmic launch. All right, section 4, evolutionary blindness and the illusion of agency. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. You're likely a bit skeptical, asking, okay, if we're entirely just tools gathering energy for the planet, why on earth don't we realize it? Why do we feel so independent? Well, Figueroa addresses this head-on with a pretty haunting phrase from the text: useful blindness. He posits that this is actually a highly adaptive neurobiological mechanism. Essentially, our human ego and our intense anthropocentrism act as psychological inhibitions. They literally prevent us from collapsing under the immense, crushing weight of our true instrumental purpose. I mean, if we knew we were just a disposable launch system, we'd probably just give up and stop working, right? So this illusion keeps us highly competitive and eagerly developing new technologies. The paper illustrates this concept beautifully, using a biological analogy: REM sleep paralysis. So, during REM sleep, your brain actively blocks motor neurons to protect your body from acting out your dreams and accidentally getting hurt. Figueroa argues that in the exact same way, nature induces existential blindness. It's this illusion of sovereignty meant to stop humans from waking up and somehow altering these global metabolic commands. Our illusion of agency is quite literally a psychological necessity. It's what keeps us relentlessly developing tech without pushing the self-destruct button. And that brings us to Section 5, the cosmic insect, Earth's constructive metastasis. Let's zoom all the way out now to the final and grandest scale of this theory, looking at the ultimate function of humanity. Think about a bee for a second. The bee's motivation, the nectar it desperately chases, is its whole focus. But the true payload it actually carries is the plant pollen. And crucially, the bee's status is completely unaware of its role as a pollinator. Now, apply this exact same logic to humanity. Our nectar, the stuff we are highly motivated to chase, is capital, wealth, and space technology. But our true payload, the pollen traveling attached to our vectors, is the Earth's microbiome, genetic code, and information. And just like the bee, our status is fundamentally unaware. We spend our lives chasing capital, while unknowingly carrying the Earth's DNA straight into the void. Figueroa refers to this whole process with a seriously provocative phrase, a constructive metastasis of the Earth. This is a total ground-up inversion of how we typically view space agencies and exploration. Under this theory, going to Mars or the Moon is absolutely not a grand human conquest. Instead, it's the Earth colonizing itself. The planet is literally just using humanity as a biological delivery mechanism to spread its material. So to summarize the ultimate conclusion of the cosmic pollination vector theory, humanity is simply a biological and technological bridge in charge of disseminating life into the inert tissue of the galaxy. That's it. We aren't the main characters of the universe. According to the biosphere, we are impartially viewed merely as the Earth's biotech pollinators, tasked with carrying the seeds of our planet into the dark. I want to leave you with this final, really profound question. Are we actually the masters of our own destiny, or are we just the cosmic bees of the Earth? It's a perspective that absolutely changes how you view a rocket launch, a bustling stock exchange, or honestly, even the basic math you learned back in grade school. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I really hope this structured journey through Figueroa's theory has sparked your curiosity as much as it has mine. Keep asking those big questions, and I'll catch you next time.